Many of you that know me actually know me from my hair growth videos and from just generally doing things to do with long hair. But there was actually a point in time in my life, in fact, a huge chunk of my life, almost half, that I actually really hated long hair. Now, hated is a word that I don't use much, but I recall when I was a kid, it was something that was genuinely quite big, in the sense that I just didn't like it whatsoever. I never once saw for the longest time someone or something which made me think, yes, I actually don't mind long hair. Yes, this person suits long hair. That time did come though, and I'll get into that later on in the video, but it was actually unreal how somebody who went from really disliking long hair ended up having long hair like me. And I'll explain to you guys exactly how I got to that point that I am at today, where my hair has been growing for about, I want to say, a year and 3-4 months or so. Now, I've never reached 2 years, but if you guys do want to see the video that will drop for when I reach 2 years, the whole process from buzzing my hair to get into 2 years, don't forget to subscribe and to hit the notification bell, because that will come out very soon. And of course, if you want to follow along more personally day to day, do make sure that you follow me on Instagram too and help me reach 4,000 followers. That would be extremely helpful. Also, I actually forgot to mention this, but I actually don't delete any of my pictures from Instagram. So if you guys literally want to see how I've looked like literally ever since I was 11, so actually get part of the story, then go ahead and check it out. So look, let me get this right out of the way first, because I know it's probably a question that you're going to have in your mind. What hairstyle was it that I had during those first years of my life which I hated long hair? It was the bowl cut, the infamous bowl cut. Now, it's something, it's a haircut which, as a kid, you don't really think like, this is kind of awkward. It's just like my friend's going straight down. And my hair is really straight when it's short. And I only came to find out later on when I actually grew it out that my hair gets quite a lot wavier as I grow it out. But I didn't know when I was younger. But like the reason why I had the bowl cut is because I was very self-conscious of my hair growing up. Of my hair? What? Of my head, of the size of my head. I used to think that I had a really large forehead. It still looks kind of large, I guess you could say, but at the time it always felt like it was just like way too big. And I was always self-conscious of that as a kid, that I just had a large forehead, and therefore I could never get the spiky haircut which all of my cool mates had and everything. So I just rocked with a bowl cut, which is ironic. I had such a problem with long hair, but at the same time I had such a controversial haircut, the bowl cut. And of course, the reason why, when I try to think of why is it that I hated long hair so much, it's kind of difficult to say, because it's kind of like those influences that you have as you're growing up. I feel like a lot of it was to do with my family and their views on long hair. They were never really too fond of long hair. In fact, to this day, I'd say that most of my family would be absolutely ecstatic if I told them that I wanted to get my hair cut. But yeah, I feel like at the time, because you're a kid, you're just influenced by those factors which are more internal with your family and not so much external. For example, like something like a video that you'd see, or like, those kind of media that you consume outside of your family. And I feel like that might have been part of the reason why. But it's also to do with taste too. Now, when I was a kid and I watched Twilight, and let me rephrase that, when I was a kid and watched Twilight, don't have a go at me for watching Twilight, okay? I was literally a kid, it just came on or something, and I thought the werewolves were cool, allow it. But at that point in time, I remember, I don't know if you remember this too, but you remember when Jacob had really long hair? It was like proper long, luscious, kind of like thick hair, and he went ahead and he cut him. I thought he looked much better when he got his hair cut, and so did everyone else in my family. That might have been a discussion that we had at some point, but that was just one example that I can remember of what was probably many instances of me just thinking, short hair generally looks better. And this is something that I want to have, I've got no interest of having longer hair, even when I'm older. I never imagined myself having long hair as I got older. And of course, that's just how it was for the longest of times. I just rocked with a bowl cut, and I literally had that throughout my whole entire childhood. I shit you guys not, there was one point in time, literally the only time which I tried something different from a bowl cut was when I was like 9 or something, that I said, okay, I know that I have a large forehead, but I'm going to try to get a spiky haircut. So I did that, and I straight away didn't like it, having to keep up with the gel and everything. I was just, okay, I'm gonna grow it back, I'm just gonna get my bowl cut back. But I would never let the sides go like any longer than covering the ear, like never. It was just, and beyond just visually as well, up until that point for the first 9 years, maybe 10 years or so of my life, whenever my hair started growing out, and this part here started almost like going towards the ear, I felt it almost like poking my ear, and it was just so uncomfortable. It was just something that you know, it felt terrible, you know. It was just, I had to take more care of it. And it was also a fact of, like, as I said, like, it was just an annoying sensation of it just like spiking my ears basically, because as I said, my hair was really straight when it's short, so, and it's thick too, so it would just be like spiking my ears, and that just kind of like kept on going on and on. In fact, I would say that I disliked long hair so much that I genuinely think if I was to get a time machine and for some reason go back to me when I was 9 years old or younger, when young me sees me with long hair, he'd be like, what the just be extremely confused, because, you know, it's one of the first things that you see, but, you know, he would just be like, why do you have long hair for, you know? And, you know, it's strange because that's something that's changed so much, and I'll get into that again in a second. But when was it that that actually changed? When was it that that was something which wasn't an issue anymore? Well, literally the first time that I actually recall seeing someone with long hair that I thought looked cool was actually, strangely enough, many of you might not know this. Let me know in the comments if you actually know this. But it's, I think he's the main villain from Power Ranger Jungle Fury. Oh man, what we're talking about. He's called Jared. Like, once again, allow it, please. I was a kid, all right? But like, I saw him, and I feel like, and he was just this like, strong alpha, you know, almost like a lion presence of a man, extremely Chad, and I feel like that was something that I hadn't seen before for long hair. And I feel like that might have been because as a kid, as many kids do, I just wanted to be as masculine as possible. And, you know, the long hair always felt a bit more feminine. And that would make a lot of sense because seeing that character, which was, as I said, just an absolute Chad with long hair, was almost like the first time that I kind of realized that, hey, you can actually mix and match those two. So that was kind of like a turning point for me, I would say. But at that point, it was still a matter of just like, yeah, whatever, you know, he can pull it off, but I will still never have him. Flash forward to when I was 11. Now, this is the beautiful beginning of the emo phase. I genuinely need to make a video dedicated to my emo phase because, oh my goodness, it was a sight to behold. But trust me, it was just, you know, I started getting into this music, and it was amazing, and the culture and the people. And I'd meet people like, you know, in town where I live, they had this like long, cool hair, this like kind of like emo hair. And they had these like band tops, and some of them would play for bands, and it was just like, it was a whole new perspective of longer hair. And these guys would have just like, obviously straightened hair, longer, the fringe and everything. So at that point, I guess you could say that my mind was changed, but this time it wasn't just a matter of, oh, they look cool. This time it was actually a matter of, I want to have that for myself. So actually, the first time that I started growing out my hair, I believe I was like 11. You know, I spoke to my family and I said, listen guys, please allow me to grow out my hair. I don't know why I said allow me. I don't know, I guess they just kind of like wanted me to keep getting a haircut. So I just asked them like, can I grow my hair? And they were like, yeah, sure, you can try that, but you got to get a haircut first. So I got a haircut first. At that point, that's the first time that I had a haircut. I was just like, why did I do that? You know, I felt that haircut guilt that I'm sure many of you people with longer hair can relate to. I felt the haircut guilt, and I feel like that was essential for actually pushing me to grow out my hair. And I did grow my hair for 10 months after that. And then I cut it again, and then I felt the haircut guilt so much worse that I literally had grown out my hair to the longest it had ever been after that. But anyway, I'm going a little bit too fast here. Let me kind of wind it back a little bit. So with the whole almost like emo scene and the emo culture, I started getting into long hair for the first time. And it was at that point which something happened, because I remember, you know, I liked drawing as a kid. I was never good at it, but I enjoyed it. And I'd always like making characters and stuff like that. And one of the characters that I enjoyed making was the future me. And this is something which is important to me to this day. And this future me is almost like, what's the ideal person that you want to be in the future? What's the ideal man that you want to be? You know, and so for me, I remember having these photos, these pictures that I would draw of me having longer hair and having a beard and being obviously taller and being musclier. And it was at that point which you could say that my mind was basically changed on long hair. And you know, when I imagine myself in the future, there are certain things that I always wanted to make sure that I did. And obviously the one of them about being bigger, you know, I went from being like 68 kilograms to being 82 kilograms. I'm not necessarily skinny anymore, but I used to be like very skinny when I was younger. So I really do go for those things about me being older and how I want to look like. So this was something which had changed at that point. And obviously as time went by, you know, I was just like, okay, I've got to get a mature look. What am I going to do about it? So then I grew out my hair once, and I tried, you know, tucking it behind my ear and stuff like that, but then I was just like, nah, I don't really rate it, you know, it looks kind of goofy, so I just kind of like let it grow out, you know, all swept back like this. And I do actually plan on making a video dedicated to the 19 years of haircuts that I have, but let me know if you guys want to see that below, in which I just go through like all of the different haircuts that I have, because let me tell you guys something, between the period of when I first grew out my hair up until this day, I've literally had almost every single haircut. Growing out my hair allowed me to actually experience the different types of haircut that I could have, see what suits me, see what doesn't suit me. You know, I found some haircuts which I was surprised at, you know, which actually suited me. For example, when I have like the top longer, kind of like slick back like this, and the sides shaved, I never thought that that would suit me, but that's actually one of my favorite haircuts to this day. So, you know, it was really great to explore and to kind of like be able to let go of that irrational thought of having long hair being something like feminine. I think it's wrong. I think, you know, masculinity or femininity, that's based on other factors. But anyway, so here I am today. I would say that I do like long hair, and you know, it's probably something which I plan on having for the future, but if I do want to get it cut, I know that I can just grow it back, etc. So it's, I wouldn't say that it's, you know, how do I put it? It's not like I only like long hair. I like experimenting, and at the moment I'm actually trying to reach 2 years, which is why you want to make sure that you're subscribed when that video does come out. That's just my goal for the moment. That's what I want to do for the moment. But guys, thank you so much for watching. If you've watched all the way through, I really appreciate you going through this little ride with me, this little journey, you know, going through time and everything back to when I was a little kid with a bowl cut. But thank you so much, and I'll see you all very soon.